Welcome back to the Dinar Chronicle, your trusted source for global financial intelligence, currency developments, and the latest breaking updates that directly impact holders of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong. If you're watching this right now, you're likely already aware that something major is unfolding behind the scenes, something that could be nothing short of historic. This isn't a rumor and this isn't noise. Today's report centers around a confirmation from the International Monetary Fund that is sending shockwaves across financial institutions worldwide. According to multiple insider sources and cross-verified reports, the IMF has quietly confirmed that a global financial reset has been officially triggered, anchored directly to the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong. This moment has been anticipated by currency watchers, economists, and asset holders for over a decade. But the tone has shifted dramatically in the last 72 hours. As of this morning, IMF officials, in coordination with regional banking regulators and key global financial institutions, have acknowledged operational adjustments tied to an asset-backed transition, where select undervalued currencies, notably the IQD and VND, are being recalibrated to reflect real-world resource backing, sovereign debt positions, and strategic trade partnerships. The trigger has been pulled. The architecture is in motion. And for the first time, it's not just speculative chatter from forums or fringe analysts. It's being tracked, confirmed, and in some areas quietly enacted under controlled conditions. The IMF's communication, though not publicized through mainstream media channels, has been relayed through backdoor diplomatic briefings and private economic councils. One senior financial attaché based in Geneva reported that the dinar and dong were specifically named in a late-night closed-door session with IMF policy architects, alongside digital ledger-based settlements being piloted in 5 currency zones. According to that source, the term trigger point was used in reference to the revaluation of these 2 currencies, with a timeline described as already initiated and phased by jurisdiction and market readiness. That matches growing evidence seen in various banking systems across Europe, Southeast Asia, and select Tier 1 U.S. institutions. In Iraq, the central bank has been unusually active. Over the last few days, multiple directives have been issued internally to restructure reserve accounts and convert a portion of national oil revenues into non-USD-linked instruments. That's a clear departure from previous dollar-centric accounting practices. More importantly, large banking centers in Baghdad and Basra have reportedly begun receiving sealed memos from the central authority. These documents allegedly outline new exchange mechanisms under post-revaluation conditions. While the CBI has not made a public statement about these changes, the sudden uptick in interbank coordination is a red flag that cannot be ignored. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, the state bank has executed what analysts are calling quiet liquidity insulation, a maneuver that essentially freezes external speculative pressure and allows domestic restructuring to finalize before an international announcement. The dong, long pegged artificially low against the dollar, is now reportedly being adjusted upward in internal models used by institutional traders. According to a confidential report obtained from a Hong Kong-based banking source, at least 2 regional banks are already displaying updated VND values on internal FX dashboards. These rates are not yet public-facing, but insiders describe them as reflective of real valuation. This suggests that financial institutions are already working under the assumption that the reset has been activated. It's also worth noting that the IMF's role in this transition is not just advisory, it's supervisory. The fund is overseeing global compliance standards to ensure that this revaluation does not result in market volatility or institutional collapse. That explains the quiet nature of the rollout. Instead of a single moment of sudden announcement, the reset is being implemented in phases, compartmentalized by region and regulatory readiness. This makes sense when considering the scale of the change. Over 70 central banks have had to update settlement protocols, and at least a dozen global clearinghouses have undergone what's being called silent code reconfiguration in their SWIFT messaging systems to handle the new rates. At the same time, pressure is mounting on the U.S. Federal Reserve, which continues to face internal scrutiny for its lack of transparency around alternative currency baskets being developed in coordination with BRICS nations. The revaluation of the dinar and dong threatens to weaken the dollar's hegemony if not properly integrated into the U.S. financial ecosystem. Behind closed doors, several Fed governors have reportedly called for immediate contingency reviews. One leaked transcript of a recent FOMC meeting mentioned currency realignment in key oil-based economies and the need for accelerated digital infrastructure deployment, likely in reference to the FedNow system and its potential for cross-border currency settlement. Currency experts are now warning that the revaluation is not merely about rate changes. It represents a complete paradigm shift in global financial flows. The IQD and VND revaluations are a calculated play to re-anchor economic power based on tangible assets: oil, agriculture, manufacturing capacity, and trade surplus, rather than speculative leverage. That is why this shift is being characterized as a global reset. Not a collapse, not a crash, but a controlled reconfiguration of how wealth, liquidity, and trade value are measured across sovereign borders. For everyday currency holders, especially those holding Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong in expectation of revaluation, this is a pivotal moment. Reports from redemption centers in multiple U.S. states suggest they are on 48-hour standby, with final clearance pending from Treasury and IMF liaisons. These centers have undergone rapid infrastructure upgrades in recent weeks, including biometric verification tools, direct digital ledger interface systems, and enhanced anti-money laundering protocols. These are not actions taken in response to theory, these are live preparations for execution. Even more telling is the activity in the commodities markets. Crude oil contracts linked to Iraqi supply chains are showing unexpected upward pricing pressure, a signal that global buyers are adjusting for a potentially stronger dinar. Similarly, Vietnamese rice and textile exporters have seen short-term credit spikes, suggesting that regional banks are preparing for a stronger domestic currency and improved lending conditions. These real-world movements add substantial credibility to the claims that the revaluation is not only in play, but may already be partially functional behind the scenes. There are still elements of uncertainty. The IMF has not issued a formal press release and likely will not until the reset is past the point of no return. Governments are managing expectations cautiously, balancing transparency with containment to avoid premature speculation that could destabilize bond markets or currency corridors. However, there's a growing consensus among economists, bankers, and institutional traders that the reset is happening, and the dinar and dong are the keys that unlock the gate. If you are a holder of these currencies, your attention right now should be on three fronts: the banking channels through which you intend to redeem, the documentation you'll need for verification and compliance, and the rate indicators coming from trusted financial data terminals. Keep in mind that once these new values are made public, the window for optimal exchange may be limited. Regional caps, tax implications, and redemption tiers may apply. That's why experts continue to urge preparedness and caution. As this global revaluation unfolds, we will remain on the front lines bringing you verified updates, breakdowns, and strategic insights. The dinar and dong have long been considered undervalued and manipulated by macroeconomic forces. Now, they appear to be leading a financial movement that could reset how global value is stored, transferred, and redeemed. Stay with us for more real-time developments as this story continues to evolve. Subscribe to the Dinar Chronicle and enable notifications to be the first to know when the next wave of confirmations hits.